everybody. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me, whether you're watching live or watching the replay. Well, I'm back inside, so you won't hear planes, trains, and automobiles going by like you did the past couple of days, right? So, again, thank you for watching. So, today is going to be my final segment on high school. And what I wanted to talk about is how living that facts of life had an impact on diversity and inclusion, not just for me, but also for my friends at the school as well. So keep in mind, this was a small school in Connecticut. There was only 400 total students at the time. So our graduating class, we had about 100 people in our graduating class. And of that, only 5 or 6 of us were African American out of 100. So you could see that it was a small population. We had a few people from other countries as well. But remember, the whole point is really, and back then we didn't know what diversity and inclusion was. It's now big, right? All over today. It's very important that we make sure people feel included and that people experience different cultural backgrounds. So what I wanted to talk to you guys today, which was something that was different for me when I went to school, was how we had to go to chapel twice a week. So what was that like? Chapel was great. You know, you're praying and you're reading the hymns, but one of the hymns that is like drilled into my head is the one that goes, "Holy, holy, holy, Lord God Almighty," right? But in my background, I'm used to going to more upbeat type songs such as, Nobody Greater, which I know is a current song, but that's the one that just pops in my head. But if you're used to going to a traditional Baptist church, like Sharon Baptist Church is where we went when we were little in the Bronx, you're used to hearing songs that you're up dancing in the aisles, you're feeling the Holy Spirit versus the songs that we sang at chapel. So that was one difference that we had to get used to when I went to school there. So what I want you guys to do is, if you went to church, tell me what one of your favorite hymns was, or what are your favorite songs. Even if you're going to church now on a very often, or even if it's online, what is one of your favorite gospel songs or hymns that you like to hear? I want you to put it in the chat. I can tell you, for me, it is Nobody Greater by Vashawn Mitchell. It's one of the songs that my son Aiden and I dance around the house singing to all the time. He actually knows the words to a lot of the songs. So put your favorite gospel song or Christian song in the chat. The next thing I want to talk about, which related to chapel, was one of my favorites was our holiday candlelight tradition. So right before we were able to go home for the holidays, we used to have a candlelight service to commemorate the holiday season and Christmas time and Jesus's birth. But it was so beautiful to hear how the chorus would sing all the beautiful songs. And then at the end, we would have everyone light a candle. So imagine about 400 people lighting their candles in this beautiful chapel that we had. So that was just something that stuck in my mind. And I remember after that, we had the opportunity to go home. Because remember, I mentioned yesterday, I was only able to go home about 4 times a year. It wasn't like you could just go home every weekend. So they used to charter a bus for those who lived in New York City. And the bus would drop us off at the, it dropped us off at the Metropolitan Museum of Art right by Central Park. My mom would pick me up, we'd take the subway home, and then I'd go back to hanging out with my friends. And secretly, I was hoping, I hope they don't think I've changed or that they think I'm not cool anymore. And I'm happy to say I still hung out with the same friends that I had in elementary school and junior high school, and we had a good time. But I was able to share some of my new experiences with them too. So it was interesting to have the dialogue back and forth. Now, remember I mentioned that we lived in the dorm life, right? I had the dorm life, but we had a curfew. Yes, I know people have curfews at home, but literally you couldn't leave the dorm. You're not supposed to go out. And there was one story that Shireen and Annette reminded me of. And we called it Mission Impossible, where we actually snuck out after curfew and we went running around singing the Mission Impossible song on the lawns, just dancing around, going into the kitchen, getting some ice cream, just for fun, just to say that we did something different that we were to have as a great memory. And I think about it today, it was a lot of fun. All right. And then diversity in the dorm. I came up there listening to my R&B and my hip hop songs. But I was also introduced to new music because I wasn't really listening to like Pop 100 type songs, right? But there was a few artists that I began to like and I began to love. I still love them to this day. See, music groups like YouTube or Bon Jovi Or Aha. You know that song, Take On Me? I don't know why it is, but now I started listening to Spotify and listening to all the songs from the 80s, right? So one of my favorites from 1986 was Living on a Prayer by John Bon Jovi, or the Bon Jovi team or group, right? Tell me, I want you guys to put in the chat, what is one song that you remember from the 80s that you love to death? Like you're driving in the car and it comes on the radio and you start blasting it and just yelling and singing, and the people in the car next to you are looking at you like, what is she doing in the car? That's what happens when I hear Living on a Prayer, when I hear any Michael Jackson song, because as you know, today I got on my Michael Jackson t-shirt to commemorate him, right? So put that song in the chat. Let me hear what song brings you back to your memories in the 80s. So what I wanted to point out here is that diversity goes both ways. So yes, you know, it's great to have African-American students or minority students to go in and be a part of a school where you're the minority, right? But it's also good. And the point is that what's great about it is that you're learning how to interact with people differently from your neighborhood, which is important when you go out into the workforce, right? But it's also good for the Caucasians and those who are the majority in that location, because now they're learning more about different cultures. They're learning that it's not always their way. They're opening up their minds to different things. So diversity and inclusion is great on both ends. It's not just good for one side, all right? So as I finish up, I want to talk about my senior year. Another thing that Westminster did for me is that obviously it prepared me for college, because the classes were really hard. I was used to being an A student in elementary school and junior high, but here I really had to work hard to get good grades. And we had great teachers to help us along the way. But what I want to tell you is what my senior trip was, because a lot of people didn't have this experience. But my senior trip was a ski trip to Killington, Vermont. And I was like, I don't know how to ski. Why am I doing this? But we all signed up, right? And thank God we went, because it was a beautiful day. It wasn't freezing out, so it was a great opportunity to learn something new. Yes, I fell a lot. I hurt my butt. I hurt my arms and stuff. But I had a good time at the same time on those bunny hills learning how to ski. And from that experience, I got excited about skiing. I came home and told my mom, I was like, man, I want skis for Christmas. My mom thought I was crazy. And so every year I kept asking her, and I think it was finally my second year of college, she finally got me some skis, and that's what I wanted for Christmas, all right? So tell me, what was your senior trip? Do you remember what your high school senior trip was? I want you to tell me where you went, or if you had one, put it in the chat. We want to hear where people went on their senior year for their senior trip. I know some people went to Disney World. For me, it was Killington and skiing in Vermont. And the last thing I want to share is the lawn ceremony. So it's now graduation. The 12th grade is going on, but before that, you have what's called the lawn ceremony. So a person from the 12th grade brings you, now I'm in 11th grade, right? They bring you onto the ceremony to let you know that that's your upcoming, you're the big woman or man on campus, because now you're going to be the senior. So the lawn ceremony was a big deal at Westminster. And I remember Shireen brought me and Stephanie onto the lawn for the lawn ceremony. So it was awesome. I still think about it to this day. Okay. So I have lifelong friends from this wonderful experience at boarding school. And I still keep in contact with some of my friends through Facebook. Yes, we don't always talk all the time, but we message each other, we send notes and so on. We send text messages. So this is a good time to reconnect with people that you just thought about from going through this journey with me. Feel free to reach out to your high school friends or family members that you haven't talked to in a long time. And maybe you guys can rekindle some great memories as well. So the last thing I want you guys to do is I want to tell you this story that my brother reminded me of. So I told you I went to Westminster. It was great, right? Well, one of his friends, my brother's on the police force, one of his friends wanted his daughter to look at some different schools. And so he had me speak to his daughter, tell her about my experience in boarding school. And we had a great conversation. We spoke for about, I don't know, maybe 20, 25 minutes. It was fine, right? And I never knew if the young lady went to, whether it was my school or any other school. Well, I'm happy to say that right before coronavirus, so this was in the summer of 2019, yeah, we're at my brother's house, having a good time. He's having a cookout. Some of his friends come over. And the guy whose daughter he had me speak to on the phone, he's like, hey, you know my daughter did go to your school and she graduated, right? I was like, what? Nobody ever told me that she And I say all that to say that you never know what your experience can be an inspiration for someone else. And I was just so thrilled to know that she decided to go based on my wonderful experience there and how she now has graduated. She's also graduated from high school, and now she's working and being a productive person in America. So all because I made that decision years ago when I was 15 to try something different. She also did something different too, and I was excited about that. So those were my high school years. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about college years, and I have some good stories to share there. You got to tune in tomorrow to see. So if you're watching a replay, put replay, and if you are watching live, put live. Either way, I thank you so much. Remember to watch tomorrow. I think I'm going to come on around the same time, around 1:30 tomorrow. And if this resonated with you, share it with someone. Share it with someone else you love or care about or want to go down memory lane with. It'll be great, okay? Thank you guys. Talk to you tomorrow.